Hi guys, hope all of us are doing great. My name is Ernest, and this is Ernest Sciences and Mathematics TV channel. In our discussion today, we're going to look at the basic characteristic of living organisms. And of course, as we mentioned from our introductory videos on the basic concept of biology, we said that one of the characteristics of living organisms is gaseous exchange. And of course, this specific process of gaseous exchange is going to take place in a particular organ in the body. And these are the basic organs of what we refer to as the lungs. So in this specific discussion, we're going to look at the basic plan of the lungs. And of course, we're going to also to look at some of the basic features or adaptive features in details, which are going to understand, assist us understand, of course, the basic concept or the mechanism of gaseous exchange in man. And I've already discussed in some of our videos the basic aspect of a collaborative way in which different parts of the bodies are going to work. Now, for this specific process of gaseous exchange, we are going to see that it's going to be a collaborative process between three basic organs. And this is going to be the brain, the lungs, and of course, we're going to see that the cardiovascular system, which is basically the concept of circulation of the blood in the body, is going to play a vital role in ensuring that this active gaseous exchange is going to be taking place and active. So basically, we can be able to define the concept of gaseous exchange as a process which is going to be involving respiratory gases, which are oxygen and carbon dioxide. And these two gases are going to be passed across what we refer to as a respiratory surface. And this specific case, of course, from the basic illustration that I've given, we're going to see that this respiratory surface can be tracked from this specific section of the body. And I'd mentioned in one of our discussions on the concept of the cranium that is going to consist of some accessory parts which are going to allow for gaseous exchange. And therefore, this is going to constitute the nasal cavity that is located in this front part of the skull, and it's going to provide an allowance for the nasal cavity, which is going to have nostrils. This is going to provide an allowance for passage of gases from the atmosphere into the lungs. And of course, there are going to be some gases which are going to be emitted from the body in form of respiratory wastes, and they are going to go into the environment. This basically is going to constitute the concept of gaseous exchange. Therefore, for the basic plan of this respiratory system or the gaseous exchange, we are going to have this specific processes starting this specific point of the nasal cavity, and we're going to have this plan go down to the larynx, trachea, and this is going to be the bronchus, the bronchi. Of course, this is going to be the bronchi in plural. These are branches which are going to be entering into the lung sections in form of branches, and therefore they are going to be referred to as branchi. And then the subdivision of these branchi are going to be referred to as the bronchioles. We can be able to see an elaborate image or an extended or magnified image of this specific concept of the bronchi, the bronchioles, that are of course going to contain sac-like structures that I'm going to refer to as alveoli. So basically, these two specific leaf-like structures are going to be referred to as the lungs. And of course, these are just an expanded general form of these specific lungs, which constitute the right and left lungs in this specific order. So for the plan of these particular lungs, we're going to see that they are going to be encompassed in this particular fisella pleuro, and this pleura are of course parietal, which are going to be two layers that are going to act as a shock absorber, since they constitute a particular fluid in this specific in between this specific layer that I'm going to mention later. And of course, this fluid is going to play a vital role in trying to reduce the aspect of friction during respiration or exhalation and inhalation of course, gases in and out of the lungs. And of course, at this lower part, we are going to have a section that is going to be referred to as a diaphragm. This is going to be a sheet of muscle that is going to control, of course, the intake and, of course, exhalation of gases from this specific section of the lungs. At the far end of my right, I've just given an illustration of the detailed form of this particular section of the bronchioles that is consisting of alveoli, and some of the airways which, of course, are going to assist this particular air come into the, of course, this particular section, which is an exchange area. At the lower part, of course, this is going to consist of a magnified section of the alveolus, which is basically going to show the blood capillary being shown on the far right. And then this is going to be the inner part of our alveolus, which is going to consist of an active layer for exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide to oxygenate and deoxygenate this specific blood. So therefore, there are various functions which we are going to see being played by the gaseous or the respiratory surface in man. And one of them, as I've said, is a distribution of gaseous or a distribution of gases, respiratory gases, that is carbon dioxide out of the body and oxygen into the body for respiratory or for cellular respiratory services or cellular respiratory functions, as I've said. And as we are going to see later, of course, there are various respiratory services which are going to be displaced by various organisms, and this is going to depend on their activity, environment, and also the animal sizes. Now, we're going to mention that one in a different video, but of course I can just roughly mention that in different organisms like the reptiles, or rather the reptiles, amphibians, mammals, and insects and birds, we're going to see that there are various respiratory services which are going to be displayed. And this range from the filament in fish, the tracheals in insect, and then the skin and buccal cavity for the amphibians like frogs, and of course for man and mammals and other organisms that we're going to see, of course, they are going to consist of these specific respiratory surfaces referred to as the lungs, and the active parts, which is going to be referred to as alveoli. So in our next section, I'm going to use a series of illustrations, which of course are going to be having an addition information on the basic plan and various functions which are going to facilitate the concept of gaseous exchange, and they're going to assist us try to understand better the basic functions of this general plan for the gaseous exchange in man, especially on this basic organ that we refer to as a lung. So catch us in our next video, as we're going to look into in an exclusive way the various functions and deeper, of course, elaboration of various parts. And of course, that is going to play a vital role for us in understanding the gaseous exchange in mans and the mammals in general. So that is it for now, guys. Bye. God bless you. Catch us in our next video.